Good evening and salutations, my Days of Alive fans. So, Clyde tells Chad, Clyde tells Chad that Abby's still alive. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? Now, at this point, he's like, I saw her body and everything like that. You're just lying to sit there and save your own skin. And, Harris like, listen, put down the gun. You don't want to sit there and have your kids lose another parent. Chad eventually puts down the gun because he's like, you know what, listen, just on the off chance that you're right. He goes to Lucas and tells Lucas this. And Lucas is like, we saw her body. As much as we want to sit there and think that she's alive. It is what it is. I loved her too. Now, the thing that's just so wild to me, right, is that how many people have came back from the dead, right? I mean, Will literally came back from the dead. Will Horton literally came back from the dead after being killed by Ben. But they have so much of a hard time believing, and countless other people too, but yet they have so much of a hard time believing with possessions and everything else that there's an off chance that Abby could be alive. I think that's the part that's just so dumbfounded for me. It's just like, what? Now Ava, goes and checks on Harris, and she's like, listen, I'm sorry. I know you told me not to do it, but I really want to protect my kid and everything. And here's the thing, ladies, and I say this all the time. As men, we do not have an infinite amount of patience, okay? Our patience is finite, okay? So you can tell when he's talking to her, it's very cold, it's very distant. He's like, listen, I'm going to go back, make sure everything went through with the paperwork, and we'll just sit there and see what happens when we get back to Salem. So, right then and there, she had that look like, okay. There's a, he's already forgiven her for a lot of things. But at some point, it gets to be a little bit too much. Now, Teresa and Brady hooking up just seems so odd to me because when she first came back, he was all like, no, 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 we had a crazy past. I don't want to sit there and do it. I don't want you. And he was very adamant about that, right? And, she starts talking about how Alex is hooking up with somebody else, so I should do the same thing. And he's like, listen, our son deserves better than what kind of crazy drama that we're going to get into. Let's not do this. But eventually he winds up giving in anyway. And I'm just like, because she's all like, oh, well, I know that you're lonely and stuff. I mean, she is really desperate. And for most men, that's actually a turnoff. Okay? There's nothing wrong with a certain level of, hey, listen, I want you and I want to be with you. But when somebody says no, it's kind of like, that's just done. And anything after that, it just becomes thirsty and it's just like, bro, like, what are you doing? Because you just come across as desperate. Not to mention, of course, if it was the other way, people online be like, oh, Brady's such a creep, blah 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 blah. Whatever. The point is, it's just not a good look, right? When somebody tells you no and they don't want to do it for whatever reason, that's when you just kind of let it go. And like, even if you are lonely, just find somebody else. Like, I feel like at that point, it's like they didn't really have anybody else for Teresa to sit there and really hook up with except for Brady. And now Brady is just, oh, I'm going to give in to my passions. Meanwhile, Kristen is pretty much, she pretty much told Alex that the candy store is closed. He's like, why? I don't understand. Um, at first, she was there talking about, well, talk to my brother, and it just doesn't really seem appealing to just have meaningless hookup, hookup X. But what it really came down to is that he was talking about her he was talking about Teresa in his sleep. And she was like, you still have feelings for her, you still love her and everything. And the thing is, he does have feelings, but he just gets this vibe that he can't trust her. And every time that he talks to her, it's like there's things that she want to say and she doesn't say it. There's a little white lies that she gets caught in. And so he's like, I can't fully trust her. You know, but Kristen gives him some love advice, which is like almost kind of hilarious, seeing how her love life is with Brady. Which again, she was all like, "I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna." It's like this level of thirst, and it's like, oh my god, just so like really. I don't understand how Days of Our Lives fans actually put up with that. It's a good show, but there are certain things that they do where it's just like what am I watching? You know, what am I really watching? Um, and he does go back and he tries to find Teresa, but she's not there in the living room. Now, Constantine wanted to sit there and make sure that Teresa was holding up her end of the bargain. So once again, he starts putting pressure on her neck until Brady walks in. He's like, "Oh, I just heard some stuff about money and dispersing money around, and like, what's going on?" Both Constantine and Teresa go overtime to sit there and try to explain that conversation away before Constantine leaves and heads to Julie's. Now, Julie is not there telling Maggie, "Hey, listen, after some real thought about it. I know I said I was going to support you, but yeah, I can't do that. This guy came to town, and he's not just going to just say, listen, I get it. You killed my daughter. It's fine. It's in the past. That's not something that you get over. That's not something that you simply just get over." He tells her that. I mean, she tells him that. Well, she tells Maggie that, and Maggie, without saying it, is like, "Listen, I got things under control. You just have to trust me." And Julie's like, "Okay, well, all right." And then she's all like, "Oh, you won't tell me the plan, but you want me to trust you." Yeah, trust her and just keep moving. Um, but she's all like, "No, you can't do it. You can't, you can't go through with this marriage." And Constance just walks on in like, "Why can't she go through with the marriage?" And Constance is like, listen, a lot of people just leave their doors open. And she's like, Julie's like, "Well, it's a very friendly place." I've heard towns that do that to just leave their doors unlocked, and I think that's probably the stupidest thing that you can do. But whatever. Um, now she does. Now he does sit there and tell Maggie, "Hey, listen, we got to sit there and get married tomorrow because yeah, my visa's expiring, and we gonna have to sit there and kind of move this along." Julie is like, "No, you can't do this." Julie, shut your mouth. She just told you to trust her, right? That means you trust her. That doesn't mean you sit there and keep objecting and everything like that. It's like, that's your friend. You've known her for years. She says she got something. She's a lot smarter than that. Then have faith in that. So you just, just it's that simple. Um, let's see what else happened. Anyway, that's pretty much about it. I can't think of anything else, but if I missed anything, come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll sit there and talk about all the shows, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Born and Beautiful, Young and the Restless. With that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video.